Right then, welcome back to a preview. You lot are gluttons for punishment. This one's going to be quick because I don't see a way for United to win this. But I'm going to talk a little bit about how there might be a chance that we can not get dicked in the manner that we're probably going to. As always, previews brought to you by Parimatch, and I'll give you my bets for this game a little bit later on. But first, let's look at it. After a defeat to Bayern Munich in midweek, that sent United out of Europe, and without the consolation, I don't know if that's a consolation, to be honest. I think the consolation of having no Europa League, rather than the consolation of Europa League, whatever. The stats going into this game are damning, and they are striking, and they're bad, realistically. They're pretty bad for United going into this. You have to think that after the back-to-back losses that Ten Hag has seen, many are going to speculate that his fate will be sealed with a comprehensive defeat in this match. And there may, I don't know if there will be. I think there's still something going on with the ownership, or at least the partial ownership with Jim Ratcliffe, which might have a say in what goes on here. But that's by the by. There's only 3 teams in Europe's top 5 leagues that have lost more games in all competition this season than United, which is fucking ridiculous. And the only one in the Premier League that's done so is Burnley. Now, obviously, you're in Europe, that gives you the extra games, but still, we've had 12 defeats inside 24 games, which is bad. Liverpool have got a perfect record at home, which is not good. 7 wins from 7 games. They've got 21 goals scored and only conceded 5. United's away record is all right, actually. We've got 4 wins from 7, but we have lost 3 of our away games to teams that finished in the top 9 last season. So it just don't look good for us. And if you go further back, we failed to win any games of our last 13 away Premier League games that to teams that have been in the top 8 of the table, losing 10 of those 13. So it don't bode well. I'm going to be real with you. It don't bode well in the slightest. We failed to score, not win, score at Anfield since fucking December 2018, and we've conceded 17 goals in the 5 fixtures since then. Now, you know how they play. They play in a 4-3-3. It's high intensity. Let's try and push the ball forward. Salah's a massive fucking threat. They've got a recently refreshed midfield. They've got a number of injuries, but they've also got like a bit of depth, which isn't quite at the same level as their team was recently. I think that the team, Firmino, Salah, and Mane, was a lot more potent forward line. But they've got some talent in this forward line. I think Darwin Núñez is a real fucking handful, especially if you're going to try and play a high line against him. And I think if he decides to actually hit the target for once, he could be a real problem for us. And I've got a feeling that with how shit his finishing is, he's probably just going to fucking light us up and end up scoring 3 or 4 or something like that. The one obvious weakness that they've got is Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's got to be someone that United really need to try and target. I think Marcus Rashford, if he plays, he's going to have to be someone that is at the top of his game. If he can get at Trent, it can be a way to claw back a little bit of confidence for this season. He usually does play well against Trent, usually gives him a nightmare, but I think United should be looking to somehow try and double up on Trent and make something happen in that channel. In front of him will be Mo Salah, undoubtedly. And even though Mo Salah is extremely dangerous and you don't really want to leave your fullback 1v1 with him, United need to think of something that we can do where you allow that left side channel to attack and attack in numbers, because that will probably be where United's goals come from. I can envisage, whether it's Reguilon or Shaw, overlapping beyond Marcus Rashford, who was held Trent up or got in behind where Trent was, and putting balls into the box for the likes of Højlund and near certainty to play in McTominay. Now, McTominay playing the 10 with no Bruno means that he is completely alleviated from all the defensive responsibilities that he doesn't do anyway, where he unbalances us by doing that. But in the circumstances that we find ourselves in without having Bruno Fernandes, McTominay could be a fucking real game winner for us, because he will just have all attacking impetus, and I think he is a presence in the opposition box, and he's one that demands respect. And I think if United are going to score, and it's a big fucking if. I'm going to be real with you. I think getting nilled is a very real possibility in this game. If United are going to score, I think a cross coming from the left-hand side where Højlund and McTominay both attack the box, one of those two getting on the end of a cross is a very, very serious opportunity for United to score a goal. Opposition star man will be Mo Salah. 16 Premier League games this season, 7 assists and 11 goals. And no one's talking about him because it is just purely expected that that's what he delivers for you. The guy's ridiculous. You know what he represents. You know how dangerous he is. You know how good he is. He's less of a dribbler than he was. He's now just purely in-box, 20-yard sort of area kind of threat. Impossible centre of gravity. Really difficult strength to push off the ball. It's going to be a massive problem for whoever it is that lines up at left-back. And a decision to make for them as well. Do they actually attack, or do they really need to sit back and cover in case Liverpool break? Because if they do, Mo Salah is an absolute problem going forward. He's really intelligent with his movement. He's quick. He is strong. And if you give him half a yard, his left foot finishing is superb. And he will open up and he will score. For United, my 11 that I would go with is... And ultimately, I think this is where the problem lies for United. And on one hand, it sort of alleviates Ten Hag of blame. But also, he has to set this team up in a way that can actually facilitate getting a result. That is his responsibility. Whether or not this is a team that you can go and put it on Liverpool, it absolutely isn't. But is it a team that you can go and get something off Liverpool? Well, it absolutely is. The personnel at your disposal have won things. So can we get a way that this team can win a game or draw a game or get something out of the game? Have a bit of fucking pride about the way we play. Onana in net. It'll be Wan-Bissaka right back, Varane. And I thought, prior to seeing the availability news, I thought it was going to be Varane and Evans, absolute shoe-in. Nobody else is going to play. I think there's an option for playing Luke Shaw left side centre-half alongside Varane. And that allows you to then play Reguilon. Now, I don't know if Luke Shaw's 360-degree defending at centre-half is enough that you could play him in a low block. Ollie had a bit of success playing him the left-hand side of a 3 in a low block, but I don't know if playing as one of the 2 in a low block. I think you want someone like a Maguire that's going to head stuff. I'm not sure that that's the place for Luke Shaw in this particular game, unless you do move to a back 3. Which is wild. But I don't think he's going to do that. So I think he probably does go with Evans. And I think he probably goes with Shaw at left back. And then you've got the option of Reguilon on the bench and Delo on the bench. But it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Luke Shaw left side centre half in this game. In midfield, I think the options are, well, McTominay in the 10 for starters, but I think it has to be Mainu and Amrabat. Now, what's really interesting about this is if it's Evans and Shaw alongside Varane and Wan-Bissaka, outside of Wan-Bissaka, who's improving but still not quite there yet, that back 6 plus Onana, actually very comfortable playing football. So actually would be, weirdly, our best footballing and possession-based team that we've played this year, at least in the back 6. And what that means for the result, I don't know because I haven't seen enough of it this year to be able to tell you, but it's got the potential that it is our most technical sort of ball-playing back 6. Now, that changes a little bit when you throw McTominay in ahead of him. As a number 10, certainly not going to be, I said this earlier, certainly not going to be growing a ponytail and being a reincarnation of Roberto Baggio. Literally just there to crash the box, be a handful, maybe help with a little bit of pressing, occasionally drop deep, track a runner, something like that. It'll be Anthony, regardless of what anyone thinks. And it'll probably be Rashford on the left, I believe. It could. That's the other decision is it Rashford or is it Garnacho? I think it'll be Rashford. And I think it's, there's no Tony Marshall, so it'll be Højlund up front. And that's the 11. And in terms of match winner, I think it has to be Varane in this instance. I think you have to have Varane as the match winner because if Varane has a good game, Varane has got the capability of putting in a 10 out of 10 defensive performance. And if he does have a 10 out, he's going to need one. If he does have a 10 out of 10 defensive performance, United might be able to limit Liverpool. The problem is, I can't sit here and tell you that they will. I know it's going to be a different defence that's going to be there, but in the last few weeks, we've allowed like Everton 20-something shots, Galatasaray 20-something shots. We're just allowing anyone who rolls up. Do you want a shot? You want a shot? Anyone, just far too many shots. Now, having Mainu and Amrabat screening that defence with, not having McTominay too far forward, that might limit the number of shots that we've been receiving. And Liverpool haven't been great. I watched the Crystal Palace game at the weekend, and they were poor for the hour until it went down to 10 men, and then they got a couple of shots, they scored a couple of goals, and they won a fucking game, the jammy bastards. But they weren't great. I'm hoping that can be carried over a little bit. I suspect it probably won't be. And also, at home, they do have a freakish good record. But it is what it is. Now, as I said at the top of the show, this is brought to you by our friends at Parimatch UK, who are offering new customers a very special offer for Manchester United's clash with Liverpool. If you're optimistic, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not, but if you are, you can say both teams to score. How about that? Both teams to score. Now, it's not United winning, so there's a chance of this, I think. Both teams to score. You can get this at odds of 35-1 if you join Parimatch today. Yeah. How about that? Now, I think, as I said earlier, I think that cross to Scott McTominay from left side of the pitch has got some legs. I think that might be our strongest way to get a goal. And even if we lost 4 or 5-1, this bet would still come in. So if you're into that, to claim that offer, simply create a Parimatch account today, opt into the promotion, place your first bet on United before kickoff, and the enhanced odds apply to a maximum stake of £1, giving you a nice £34 return in free bets if both teams manage to score. As mentioned, it is for new customers only, and you do need to be 18 and a UK resident to participate. And we know football is incredibly unpredictable, so it isn't any sort of promise of a win, and it is a little bit of fun to enhance your watching of the game. And boy, do I think you're going to need a little bit of fun to watch this game, because it might be brutal. Once again, new customers only, and it's exclusive to myself and Parimatch. Click the link in the description below to get involved. But whether you do or you don't, let me know in the comments what score you actually think is going to happen in this game. And then finally, how do you actually beat this Liverpool team? Or do you know what? I might even change this to how not to get smacked about rather than how to beat. But you can't allow Trent time. Now, I think he is a defensive liability, but he is a creative outlet that you can't allow time on the ball. If you do, he is incapable of locking our defence, especially at any point he chooses. Occasionally, he drifts a little bit central. Now, that makes him a bit of a goal threat as well as a creative threat. And our disjointed press and the spaces that are in between the lines, that are very concerning for a player that's allowed to roam and can get on the ball and dictate play from pretty much any area. Secondly, I think transitions are going to be huge. This Liverpool side is basically 3/8. They don't really have a dedicated number 6 that sits and anchors that midfield. It is quite a functional midfield, but it can be a little bit on the aggressive front foot sort of side. It doesn't really have that sort of cool older head that's like, you lot go forward, I'll just sit here, don't worry about it. And they do actually give teams a chance. To see so many times that Van Dijk and Alisson have bailed them out this season, that I think that they will give up chances. Whether or not United can be clinical, because we haven't been this season, that worries me. You might shock them and rock them a little bit early doors. But, can you... there's a lot you need to do. There's a lot you need to do. Listen, third thing, just pray. Just hope that United can somehow pull it out of the bag. When everything's against us like this, these are still our professional athletes at the end of the day, and they are at the top of their game, really. They might not be on form, but they are still top athletes who are capable of doing something special. It'd be nice if they actually pulled something out at Anfield. Form's supposed to go out the window in these big games. Let's open the window and see if we can stick it out there, yeah? Anyway, thanks to Parimatch for sponsoring this and all the previews this season. Thanks to you lot for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here. We'll be doing whatever after the game regardless. So I will see you then. Take it easy. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.